Hello, this is Ananya. In today's lecture, we'll be studying about user-defined functions. We finished with inbuilt functions in Python, right? So today we'll be making our own functions. So let's see how to go about it. Whenever you call the function, so until and unless you call the function, it will just be a piece of code which does not perform any action, right? And inbuilt functions are the ones that Python provides you, and it's inbuilt in its system. You do not have to write any exclusive code for that. Okay, so Python functions, or basically any functions in the coding language, help you make your code quite organized, and whenever you're working in projects, you can understand and explain whatever is going on in the code. So today we'll be understanding user-defined functions. So functions have basically two parts, inbuilt and user-defined. We're done with inbuilt, we'll be doing user-defined now. So what are user-defined functions? It's pretty much exactly the opposite of inbuilt functions. That is, you have to write your own code. Okay, that is why it says user-defined. You are the user and you are defining your own function. So why do we need user-defined functions? Why can't we just live our lives with inbuilt functions? Well, the reason is, for any such as Python or any coding language as such, they do not provide you the code for each and every task that you want to perform, right? So it wouldn't have made sense to learn coding if everything would have been provided to us, right? For example, we want to find the mean of the numbers present in a list. We do not have any inbuilt function provided for list. That is, but we have sum. We can find the sum of the numbers of the list using the sum function, and we can find the length of the list using the len function, right? And we can simply divide the two answers to get the mean. So inbuilt functions are here to make our life easier, but not to spoon feed us, right? Okay, so user-defined functions are basically the functions that you define, and you have to write your own explicit code for that. And as you can read on the screen, there are segments of code, okay, just like inbuilt, but you cannot see them. You have to write your code here in this case, and your code becomes quite neat. And whenever you're working in projects, each member of the group can understand what is going on in your code according to each piece of code written. Okay, now we'll be seeing the syntax of user-defined functions. What you do is you write this word def here. It is compulsory. Only when you write def does the compiler understand that yes, you are about to write a function. So def, and then you have your function name. It can be any name, alright. It is highly recommendable that you give the function name according to what task you want to perform. For example, let's take the previous one. You are about to find the mean of a list, of the numbers in a list. Let your function name be def mean, okay? So whenever you come back to this code, or whenever you are showing it to somebody else, they can automatically understand what is going inside the code. For example, you want to perform multiplication. Give def multiplication. Or else, let's say you are trying to build a game, okay, and in that game you have something like the opponent dies. So maybe you give your function name as def opponent dies or something like that, okay? Just understand that it should be something, the name should be something according to your code, according to your action, and make sure it's very short. And if you have 2-3 words you want to join it using the underscore symbol that you have, okay? Because you cannot have space, that is not the correct syntax. Python interpreter won't understand the name then. You have to join 2 or 3 words using the underscore symbol. Alright, so you have def, the function name, open and close parenthesis, and a colon. Okay, we have seen this part of the syntax quite a lot of times while using inbuilt functions. That is, you have the parenthesis and colon, and when you hit enter, if you are using maybe any text editor or maybe an IDE, the indentation will automatically be given to you. In case it's not, for example, if you're working on CMD for Python, if you're doing it on the directory, you will have to give the indentation by yourself. Okay, so please remember to do that. Only then will you define the scope of the function correctly, and then this is known as a function call. So we declared the function, this is known as declaration of the function. Then you define the code, whatever you have to, whatever action that you have to perform, and next you have to call the function. Without this statement, this part of your program is basically just going to sit and do nothing. It is just going to sit there on the screen. So you need to call this part so as to bring this into action. So what you do is, you give the function name exactly the same what you used here, and open and close parenthesis. That's it. That's how you call a function. Now let's move ahead, and there's another thing that you must always either include a print statement, that whatever code you want to say, or you have to include the return keyword. Now we shall see, in case you do not know, we shall see in detail of what the return keyword does and why is it extremely necessary and important in your function that you have defined. Okay, let's move ahead. Now, a basic question that many of us face in the beginning stages of programming, that in my user defined function, should I return my answer or do I directly print it in the code itself? Well, I believe that it is always a preferable and it's a good option to go for the return keyword. Now let's understand why through some practical examples. Now there's something that you need to know. A function always returns something. It just doesn't perform the function and stay there itself. Whenever you call the function, it will without fail return something. You called it, okay, imagine it as if you are calling someone, they reply back, right? So in short, you are calling a function, so it basically returns something to you. In human conversations, if you call someone, they reply back, that is, they are returning a response. So in the same way, whenever you call a function, they return something to you. Now that something will either be what you have told them to return, that is some specific answer, or else if you do not mention that return a or return answer, okay, any variable or any set of variables, if you do not explicitly tell them to return something, they will return none. Okay, if you can see here, if you have not explicitly told the function to return anything, it will return none. Now we shall see that practically very soon. So you might not be able to see it. The function knows that it's returning none, but this none isn't visible to you. Okay, it's not visible, it just goes on at the back end. And let's just start with the practical examples so that you do not have any problem. But before that, I'm just going to give you a quick example on how a simple function is defined. Just give me a moment. Let's say functions. Okay, it already exists. Let's name it. Okay, before I explain as to why we should be preferring return statements or the return keyword, we shall just give a quick example on how to exactly perform user defined functions. So what I'll be doing here is I'll be calculating the sum of the numbers between 10 to 100. That is, I shall be doing 10 plus 20 plus 30 plus 40 and so on. So we could have done this normally, that what we could have done is we could say for I, we could have said for I in range 10, 110. Why? Because I wanted to go up to 100, then 10, 110 and 10. Okay, this we could have done this and given a colon and then told it to print the sum, right? We could have just done that. But in case this was a really long code, okay, maybe 100, 200 lines of a code, it would have become completely confusing if you came back to it and wanted to refer to it at some point of time. You would literally take 10 to 15 minutes to actually understand what you had done. So right now you might not quite get as to why should we use functions and not just write it in the main program itself, but gradually when your code lengths will keep on growing longer, you will understand the importance of it. Okay, so what we do is, as you remember, we have def, and now what I'm doing is I want to calculate the sum. So I'll be naming my function as addition. Okay, and that's it. Now see, I have an indentation to give. Now what I say is I will declare the variable sum of numbers is equal to 0. Now gradually in the for loop I will keep adding the value of I to sum n. Alright, so sum n is equal to sum n plus I. I hope you're understanding what is going on. Just a quick hand run of what's happening. Sum n is equal to 0. So for I in range 10, so the first value of I is 10, right? So sum n here is 0. So 0 plus 10 gives you 10 and it is overwritten into sum. Okay. Next it is 20. So sum n is currently 10. So 10 plus 20, 30 gets overwritten and so on. And this process will go up to 100 at a count of 10. Alright. And now what I want to do is I want to return the value, that is the final answer of sum n should be returned where I call the function. Okay, and now I shall call it saying print addition. Now look closely. There are two ways of doing it. I'm just using a shortcut method. One you could do is you could store it in answer is equal to addition. So what we are doing here is, you can see this part. Okay, this part is basically your function call, right? We just saw that you are calling the function, and the answer of this function call gets stored into the variable answer. Okay, so whatever sum gets returned, 500, 550, whatever the answer is, it gets stored in the variable answer, and then you can just print the variable answer. Okay, this is one way of doing it. You take 2 lines for this process, and for the other method is you just directly call this function, addition function, inside the print function. Okay, so inside the print function you say print the answer of the function addition. Let's see, both of them will be doing the same task. Alright, let's run this. Okay, you have the answer here. What is going on? Okay, so you see my mistake here. See, that's where we can understand the crucial importance of indentation in Python. What I did is, my return statement is inside the loop, like the for loop scope, right? You see it's indented here, so it's inside the scope of the for loop. So the first time it does the addition, that is 0 plus 10, it directly returns the answer 10. But that's not that's not what I want, right? So I shall remove this indentation, and now it is inside the scope of the function addition and not of the for loop. So these are places where you can actually understand wherever you're going wrong. There you go, you have your answer 550, 550. So basically these two does the same task. It's actually shortening your code, that is directly calling the function to print the answer rather than storing it inside a variable. Alright, anything that's up to you, there's no problem at all. Whatever your choice is, you can go ahead with that. Now let's comment this and let's come back to why should you prefer using the return keyword. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to define a function, let's say anything. What am I doing here? Let's say check. Okay, and inside that I'll be passing a string, and inside that I say print strn. Okay, that's what I wanted to do. That's it. I don't want anything else happening. Remember, I am using only the print statement here and I'm not returning anything. Okay, now I shall call this saying check of hello. Alright, I'm calling this function with the string hello. So this hello gets assigned to this variable string. Okay, you're calling it with hello. This is a parameter that you're passing, hello, that gets assigned to the variable string. It gets stored in the variable string and hence it prints it. Okay, this is what is happening. So we get hello, plain and simple. Now you might think, fine, print is working properly, why should I bother using return and all that? But now let us try and do something. Okay, remember we were storing it in a variable here. Let's do that in this case also. Let's give answer is equal to check of hello. Let's do this. Let me comment this, or let it be. I'm saying answer is equal to check of hello, and now I am saying print answer. Okay, let's see what happens. There you go. Let's see what's happening. The first check, this one that you called, it went and printed hello. Okay, this is our first print statement. The second print statement happens is when you call this check function, and inside the check function you have this print statement. So the second print statement gets executed and gives us hello. But the next time, that is print answer, now you see you get the exact function of, and you get the exact idea of how return is working inside check. Since we are not returning anything, the function check returns none, and hence none is stored in answer, and it prints, whenever we are printing answer, it gives us the output none. Okay, now you understand the statement that I was saying. Even though you don't explicitly mention a return statement, there will be a return function action going on at the back end which is not visible to you, but if you want to see it, you can print it like that and understand that every function will return something to you. Your call will never be unanswered. Okay, so you have none being returned to you. Now let us do something saying print answer into 2. Okay, we saw in our string lecture that whenever we multiply a string, we basically get it twice, right? So remember, again, we are not returning anything yet. I'll just comment all of this one, and let this be commented also. So what we have is, in answer we are calling the check function with the string hello, and now I want to print it twice. Any guesses as to what might happen? Because last time we got none. Would you think will it give us this time? Well, let's see. See, what you get is, you get an error saying, and on line 16, okay, the error that you get is unsupported operand type. Okay, now what are operands? In very, very early lectures, you might, if you have seen them, you might remember we had done operators. Okay, we had done a session on operators, and we had understood what is operators and operand. So operand is basically the variable or any element on which an action is being performed. So here the operand is answer. Okay, the operand is your answer, and it says you are basically trying to multiply two types of data, that is answer, that is actually none, that is the none type, and int is basically 2. So you're basically trying to multiply none into 2, which is basically doesn't make any sense, right? So multiplying none and integer will give you the unsupported operand type error. So it is crucial that you try and read the error provided to you. Whatever error Python throws you, you need to read it and try and understand where exactly the error is being pointed out to you. It's always written really in a clear manner. So understanding your error and trying and solving it is a crucial part in writing codes. Okay, now that we know that the functions return none when we haven't explicitly mentioned something, let's say return. I shall not bother you anymore by not saying return. I shall say return. Now let us see what it gives us. See, you have hello. It's very happy. It returned hello to you using answer. The variable answer is no more none, and answer into 2 gives you hello twice. Okay, we understood this. Now let's move ahead. So I think we have a firm decision as to use return maximum of the time, as long as it is really not necessary. Okay, so our final decision is, our conclusion is, go for the return keyword. Alright, let's move ahead. Now we shall understand types of user defined functions. Now first we have non-parameterized, and the second one we have parameterized functions. Now what are non-parameterized functions? If you know about inbuilt functions or you've seen my previous video, you might know that whenever we used to call, maybe let's take the example function sum or maybe function length, we always had to pass maybe a certain list or a certain variable inside it, right? Without that, it would throw us an error that at least a single parameter is required and none have been provided. So that is parameterized. Okay, that is, you pass some variable or a parameter inside it to work upon. And non-parameterized is not necessary. Like the one we just saw, the addition function that we didn't pass anything inside those two parentheses, right? So that is known as non-parameterized. And the other one is parameterized function. And under parameterized, we have three types, that is default, keyword, and variable length. We shall see all this in detail. Let's start with non-parameterized. Let's take a quick example. I'm not printing this out for you, like I'm not trying it on the IDE, because it's pretty obvious as to what is happening. We have the function defined as a function, and inside this parenthesis you see between the open and close parenthesis there isn't any variable or parameter provided. So this is non-parameterized, and we just give any print statement or whatever we want to do, and we call it without any parameter. Okay, so you can try this out if you want to, but it's not necessary. It's very simple. Let's move ahead. Okay, so this is a simple example of what a parameterized function is. So what I'm doing here is I'm checking if it's positive, negative or 0. Okay, a number is positive, negative or 0, and I am passing, you see there is something between the parentheses, that is we have a number here, that is I am passing the value. Okay, now we shall see a quick example on parameterized functions. So before moving ahead, we can just have our basics corrected, and we'll get into complex examples pretty soon. Alright, now our function was checking if the number is positive, negative or 0. So let's define our function. Let's declare it first, then we'll define it. Let's name it type of number. I'll just shorten it down. Alright, and I'm going to pass the parameter, that is, let's say any variable, let's say n. Now I shall simply give my if and else conditions and check if it's positive, negative or 0. It's pretty simple, no issues with that. So if n is greater than 0, I shall say return positive, else if, that is elif, n is less than 0, return negative, else if it's none of them, return 0. So these strings get returned and you can print it accordingly. Okay, now that we're done with our function, that is a parameterized user defined function, okay, because we do have a variable, or rather say a value that we are passing. Now out of the scope of the function, we shall take an input from the user, say num is equal to int input of enter any integer. Now that we have taken the input, we shall pass it to our function, right? So I shall directly print it. So we have a function inside function, that is inside the print function we are calling the function type of number. So I say type num of, and inside this I shall pass my variable num. Okay, so I'm basically passing the value of the object num. Alright, this is enough. That's it for understanding the basic of a parameterized user defined function. Let's run it. So we have enter any integer and let's say 4. Okay, we have it as positive. Let's give it another try. We have minus 6. We get negative. Last try 0. Okay, we get 0. That's it. We have got and understood our basics of parameterized functions. Now let's move ahead. Okay, now that we have seen this simple example on parameterized functions, we shall now just take a quick pause, okay, and in the next video I'll meet you all with types of parameterized functions. Now because this is getting quite long, you all might be getting restless, but so I'll be meeting all next time with types of parameterized functions. Alright, bye bye for now. See you next time with the continuation of this video. Bye bye.